What's up, everybody? This is Hannibal Sky doing another Final Fantasy XIII Starters Guide for NextGenWalkthroughs.com on the Xbox 360. This area right here where I'm running in circles is where you would fight a boss called Proud Claude for the second time. It's the end of the Eden map, and you'll see here the little area, and you wind all the way through. This is all of Eden. So it's all the way at the very end of this, but just kind of showing you where you come from and where you end up in Eden. Now this area in Eden that I'm standing in, right before that Proud Claude fight, this area I'm highlighting back and forth here. That's a good area to do some grinding in before the end of the game, because the characters you fight are going to drop some loot that you can sell for a pretty good amount of money, and you can keep leveling up your characters so that the end fights aren't as hard, because the last couple fights can be very difficult for you, and the Proud Claude is a tough one too. Here you can see I'm using the Army of One attack. It's the Ravager attack that only lightning can do, and it's one of my favorite ones to use. The biggest reason is like you see with this guy, while I'm hitting him, he keeps staggering backwards, and while he's doing that, he's not attacking, and my other characters are building up their attacks. So I'm keeping him off his feet and unable to attack as long as I'm hitting him with this Army of One, which is just a crazy series of attacks. And as you see here, once he's staggered, this attack builds the stagger gauge real fast. So it's a real good attack to use once an enemy is staggered. If you don't want to launch them into the air, or have one of your other characters launch them into the air, you can still do Army of One up in the air. This video I'm going to be just kind of showing you some battles fighting in this area and trying to give you some techniques and thoughts on how to do some stuff. Watch the stagger gauge here. I've got Lightning as a Ravager, which is the one that builds up the stagger gauge really quickly. But Fang, the one throwing the white bolts at the guy, is a commander, so all of her attacks aren't raising the gauge very fast, but it's slowing it down from falling back. If you were just attacking with Ravagers, that gauge that's up to 278 now would be falling just as quickly as it rises, but with the commander it keeps it from falling back down as quickly. So you need a combination like that when you're fighting, of commandos and saboteurs. I hope I'm saying that right. They raise the chain gauge, the stagger gauge as well. So if you use a character that you're using like that, you can use them to keep the gauge from falling too quickly, along with commandos and Ravagers. Now here you see that these two sets of characters are attacking each other. Anytime you see that happening, your attack is always going to be preemptive. You don't have to worry about sneaking up behind them. Just run right up and you just run into one of them, and it's automatically a preemptive strike. I didn't know that until after I beat the game, and I spent a lot of time trying to sneak up on characters that were attacking each other, and I could have just left it alone. And when you do that, when you're leveled up high enough, I like to start one of those battles with two commanders and a Ravager, because when you have two commanders, they'll attack different characters. The two commandos never attack the same character. So when you get into a preemptive strike situation, you both might stagger someone, or the other one will at least keep the stagger gauge up until you defeat the one you're attacking. You come back and now you have a second character either staggered or close to it, so you can kill two characters pretty easily. Otherwise, when you preemptively strike someone, try to make sure you hit them as a commander and not just the Ravager, because if you stagger them with just the Ravager, then the stagger time is going to be a lot less than if you stagger them with a commando. Just like the stagger gauge, it doesn't last as long. And then use an attack command, and that'll launch them up in the air, and you can juggle them around and keep them from attacking that way. And also you see the blue gauge that kind of stacks up when I am setting up attacks. That's your ATB gauge. You don't have to wait until it fills up all the way. If you see you only need one more attack to kill a guy, you can hit the Y button, and it'll start all the actions you have queued up so far to go ahead and attack with. Or if you get part of the way and realize you want to change your mind, you can hit the B button, back out of it, and change what you said to do. Here you're seeing me, I'm hitting the left bumper button and switching paradigms. If you do that every other round of attacks that you do, when you start that next round, you'll start with a full ATB gauge, so you don't have to wait for it to charge. So it's kind of a little, it's not really a cheat, but it's just a way of using the system to shorten the time between your attacks. You'll still have to wait for a quick second while it does a little animation for the paradigm change, but it's quicker than standing there and waiting for your gauge to recharge. So if there's a particularly tough enemy or one that just has a ton of hit points, you can set up a paradigm twice in your list, so you can switch back and forth between the same paradigm, but it's in 2 different slots. So your characters will stay doing the same thing, but they'll get a full ATB gauge every other time when you switch between them. So that comes in handy. That could come in handy against some of the tougher bosses. Just keep that in mind if you're wanting to get someone killed before they do a certain attack or something. Some of the enemies will do a charging attack, so that's where they charge up gradually over the fight. So if you want to kill them quicker, that's one way to do it. Also, if you have someone staggered and you knock them up in the air, while your character is up in the air attacking them, if you do a paradigm shift while your party leader, the one you're controlling, is up in the air, you can skip the animation where they shows them all 3 change their roll. They'll just you'll hear the noise, but it doesn't take any time, so it's a quicker change. So it's another little cheat that I use a little bit. Anytime I would launch someone in the air and I needed to switch to add a medic or a second commander or ravager, I would just wait until my character was up in the air attacking and then switch there. You see there in the middle, there's kind of like 2 alleyways of fights you can do. One is all those big white monster guys, and the other one is mostly soldiers. In the middle of that is a little save point where you can go in and sell all the perfumes, credit chips, and incentive chips you get from these fights. I also sell a couple of the Scarletites because you get a bunch of those from those white monster guys. And that's an area where, as you build up money from those things these guys drop, you can buy upgrades for your weapons and accessories.